Week 7 of the fantasy football season kicks off tonight with the Unk Bowl on Thursday Night Football. The Cincinnati Bengals going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And in today's video, I'm going to help you guys set your lineup at the running back position. We are going to be going in depth into my top 40 running back rankings and tiers for week number 7 of the 2025 fantasy football season. But before we could get into today's video, I would like to ask that if you are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you leave a like on today's video to help me out a ton. So without further ado, let's get into today's video. We begin with the must-start running back ones tier with my running backs 1 through 12. Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Taylor, Jahmyr Gibbs, Devon Achane, Josh Jacobs, Javonte Williams, Quinshon Judkins, Saquon Barkley, Kyron Williams, Ashton Genty, as well as Cam Scatterboo. Now, Christian McCaffrey is going to be the RB1 in my rankings every single week. Now, I understand that he still has not finished as the RB1 a single time this season, but every single game this season, all 6 games, he has been a top 8 running back. He's currently the RB1 on the season in full PPR. Going up against the Atlanta Falcons defense, I do believe that this game has the potential to be very high scoring due to how good the Falcons offense looked last week up against the Buffalo Bills. On paper, this is the second worst matchup for a running back on a per game basis, but when it's Christian McCaffrey, you don't care about the matchup, you start him regardless. At number 2 is the other running back in this game, Bijan Robinson, going up against the 49ers in San Francisco. This is the Sunday Night Football game. Running back 1 last week, the guy absolutely ran a train on the Buffalo Bills, doing so while Tyler Algier also found the end zone as well. Only 1 game so far this season outside the top 12 at the running back position, and in that game he was the running back 13. So Bijan, Christian McCaffrey, the next guy we talk about, Jonathan Taylor, you really don't care about the matchup at all. When a guy is running as hard as these guys do, when the guys are performing as well as these guys do, you are just going to start them regardless of the matchup. Now, in terms of the actual matchup on paper, this is the 14th best running back matchup on a per game basis, but again, for Bijan, it doesn't really matter. Then we got Jonathan Taylor going up against the LA Superchargers in Los Angeles. Jonathan Taylor was the RB8 last week. He has had 3 games inside of the top 2 at the running back position in 2 games already as the running back number 1. Again, I don't need to sit here and give the gawk 9,000 special to a guy like Jonathan Taylor for you to know to start him. In terms of a matchup up against the Chargers, this would be a relatively mid-range matchup at the running back position. This is the mid-range matchup. They are the 18th best matchup for running backs on a per-game basis. So again, with Jonathan Taylor, doesn't matter who he's playing up against. He has the upside to blast off into space and be the running back 1 in any given game. Then we got Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, Jahmyr Gibbs is going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this week in the first of 2 Monday Night Football games, and he has been very, very annoying this season. I don't mean that like, oh, he has completely screwed the pooch on you because you drafted him in the top 6 and he's been terrible. That hasn't been the case, but he hasn't really even been a consistent top 10 option. Running back 13, 8, 3, 15, 13, and 32 last week up against the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, you are still playing him, and obviously you still have crazy confidence in him because he could take any handoff, any check down, 99 yards straight to the crib. But based on what we've seen this season, I definitely feel just a little bit let down in terms of matchup. This is the 11th best matchup for running backs on a per game basis. And again, 1 down game out of Jahmyr Gibbs shouldn't make you full-on panic. Then we got Devon Achane, Devon 2 Chains of the Miami Dolphins going up against the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland. Now, the Miami Dolphins are rumored to be trading away Jalen Waddle to potentially the Giants, and I'm going to be honest with you, as a Dolphins fan, that is going to absolutely break my heart. Based on what I saw Jalen Waddle post on Instagram today, he took the Dolphins out of his bio. I think he's gone, and it's just so disappointing to see a team with this high of aspirations, a team that, you know, kind of went all in a few years ago, just be this much of a failure. And obviously people will laugh at me in the comment section, be like, Nick, you should have never expected it. And in a way, you are correct. But if Devon Achane is still on this team by Sunday, I absolutely adore him. Pause in this matchup. Now, I get that going up against the Cleveland Browns is the worst matchup for running backs, but Devon Achane is just so crucial in this Dolphins offense. He could see 10 targets in this game. I wouldn't be surprised. He has scored a touchdown or more every single week outside of week number 3 up against the Buffalo Bills. And even that game, he was a top 12 running back. This game right now, based on the weather, it's looking like there are going to be some crazy wins. So I think the Dolphins are going to rely heavily on checkdowns to Achane, heavily on running the rock with Devon Achane. So that should be a big game like he had last week up against the Chargers, where he scored 2 total touchdowns as the RB4, scoring 31 PPR points. Next up, we got Josh Jacobs, running back of the Green Bay Packers, going up against the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona. He is sick right now. Motherfucker, I'm ill, not sick. I'm not a doctor. As much of a doctor as Johnny Sins, my assumption would be that Josh Jacobs still plays if he is sick right now. It doesn't seem like players really miss games with illness since, like, COVID. And even back then, I feel like players were playing through that. So going up against the Arizona Cardinals is the 9th best matchup for running backs. Josh Jacobs is on fire, NBA Jam style, RB2 prior to the bye. Coming out the bye last week up against the Bengals, running back number 3, 2 touchdowns in both of those games. Now, I get that the Dallas Cowboys matchup is super easy. The Cincinnati Bengals, cupcake matchup, but so is the Arizona Cardinals. So I expect Josh Jacobs to continue running incredibly hard and to continue up on this very high pace. Then we got Javonte Williams of the Dallas Cowboys going up against the Washington Commanders. Now, Javonte Williams came to a screeching halt last week after being essentially a very safe top 12 bet, and at minimum, he was going to be like an RB2. Last week, finishes as a RB3, just 8 fantasy points up against the Carolina Panthers in Carolina. And while that would be worrisome if Javonte Williams shit the bed multiple times this season, just one down game with a guy that has been as reliable as Javonte Williams doesn't mean that you have to just smash on the brake, turn the fucking car around, right? This is the 13th best matchup for running backs on a per game basis, so I do expect Javonte Williams to bounce back, and I'm not going to worry, especially if CeeDee Lamb is back. I mean, this offense is going to be humming. Next up, we move to Quinshon Judkins going up against the Miami Dolphins. We talked about it with Achane. This is a game that is expected to have some crazy wind conditions. They're going to run the ball. The Miami Dolphins defense cannot stop the run. I mean, as a fan, it is so fucking aggravating watching Rico Dowdle just get this giant gaping hole and just running directly through it. I mean, Kamani Vidal looked so fucking good last week. He looked like Josh Allen's wife in Sinners, and it was just disgusting. It was disgusting to watch because the Dolphins can't stop the run. So Quinshon Judkins with his XXX Tentacion haircut, I expect this dude to go absolutely hog wild. I expect him to go balls to the wall. I expect him to go balls deep inside of the Dolphins defense. And look, I get he shit the bed last week as running back 51. I would genuinely be shocked with how bad the Dolphins run defense is if Quinshon Judkins falled anywhere outside the top 12. This is the 4th best matchup on a per game basis for the running back position. Then we move to Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley is another one of these guys like Jahmyr Gibbs that definitely has been disappointing, and honestly even more so than Jahmyr Gibbs. Jahmyr Gibbs is way more consistent than Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley has fallen outside of the top 20 multiple times this season. He was the RB30 back in week 3, RB24 last week. I mean, he didn't even score 10 fucking PPR points last week up against the Giants in that revenge game, which is just a really, really, really bad look because we talked about this in the Start Sit video. They released a whole documentary about Saquon Barkley, and then they get absolutely bitch slapped by the Giants. It was just very, very funny in my opinion. I think that's hilarious. Now, the Vikings matchup on paper is the 12th best matchup for running backs on a per game basis. The Eagles are down bad after back-to-back losses. I expect them to hop back on the saddle. I expect them to play better. So, again, Saquon Barkley is just not a guy that you quit on based upon his career as a whole, based on his time in Philadelphia so far through the first 2 years of the season, the first 2 seasons as a Eagles running back. Then we move to Kyren Williams of the LA Rams going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars in Duval. I'm only kidding. This game is not in Duval. It is at Jacksonville, but it is in the United Kingdom. Eat your fucking fish and chips, lad. Running back 11 last week up against the Baltimore Ravens. The LA Rams offense was just inept in that game. I mean, they couldn't figure out how to get anything going in the first half. Just a completely and utterly limp dick showing. But in the second half, they took a tab of Viagra and they looked a little bit better. Kyren Williams still played very well. Obviously, losing Puka Nacua sucks because that just limits the offense as a whole because you just throw the ball to Puka Nacua and they just keep moving the ball, keep on marching, throwing the ball his way, get Kyren a lot of red zone looks. But Kyren's just a guy that lives and breathes and dies in the end zone. I mean, this is just a guy that scores so many touchdowns game in and game out, 5 total touchdowns through 6 games, 3 touchdowns over the last 2 weeks. So with a matchup up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, that on paper, sure, isn't the best, is the 23rd best matchup for running backs. When a guy scores as much as Kyren Williams, you just keep ranking him here. Then we got Ashton Jeanty of the Las Vegas Raiders going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, Ashton Jeanty has been pretty solid this season. I understand that he kind of starts off on the wrong foot, and then in week 2, he's on the wrong foot again. And then in week 3, he's on the wrong foot again. But then he's the running back 1, running back 15, running back number 12. The Raiders offense is just a complete and utter joke. I mean, Geno Smith just frankly sucks dick, let's be honest. Geno Smith has been terrible this season. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Ashton Jeanty still has been able to overcome this. Now, this is going to be a game where the Kansas City Chiefs are just going to be bending them over a table. I expect this one to be over pretty quickly, and they're going to have to throw the ball a ton. But with Jeanty having a game with 7 targets, with him pretty reliably, I think, should be able to see at least 4 targets in this game. While I am definitely worried just because the fact that I don't think this one's going to be a close one at all. In terms of a matchup, this is the 20th best matchup for the running back position, so I think Jeanty should be fine, but I think expecting him to be like a top 3 running back here would be a little bit foolish. Then we got Cam, I'm a scat man, Bob Billy Pop, Cam Scatterboo going up against the Denver Broncos. Now, there were a lot of people in my comment section last week like, Nick, you had Cam Scatterboo ranked as like the running back 18 when he was the running back 5. Nick, are you fucking stupid? Because I'm sure we all thought he would not score 1, not score 2. He would score 3 touchdowns up against the Philadelphia Eagles in prime time on Thursday Night Football. I'm sure all of you guys expected that. I'm sure you guys all saw that coming. I'm sure you rubbed the crystal ball and just knew that was going to happen. And I'm sure when I go back and look, there's just so many comments that are like, Nick, I think Scatterboo is going to be a top 5 running back against the Eagles. You want to know why? Because there aren't any comments like that. People just love leaving them after the fact. That is funny. I get it. I did have Cam Scatterboo ranked higher than expert consensus rankings, just like I do this week. Going up against the Denver Broncos is a matchup that, in my opinion, won't be the most high scoring. I don't think this is going to be a barn burner. Back and forth, left hook, right hook. Okay, left, right, left, right, left, right, up, down. Shout out to GTA. This is a matchup on paper that's the 26th best for the running back position. So Cam Scatterboo isn't a guy that I expect to score 3 touchdowns like last week, but I think he should get 1, hopefully. And if he runs for around 100 yards, like I think he can, gets a couple of dump offs, I think he's going to be fine. I think he is going to be fine. But yeah, if you expect him to score 3 fucking touchdowns again, you're a little bit crazy. Now we move into the second tier here, which is going to be the high-end RB2s with Rachaad White, JCM, Rico Dowdle, Breece Hall, as well as Jaylen Warren. Before we talk about Rachaad White and the rest of the running backs in this tier and the rest of the running backs in today's video, I would like to give you guys a quick word for our friends, our partner over at Underdog. If you're brand new to Underdog and sign up using promo code Notorious or by clicking on the link in the video description, you'll receive a free pick plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus funds, as well as if you do $5 in the pick'em, you receive an additional $100 in bonus funds or in bonus entries. You might be thinking, Nick, how does the pick'em work? So I'm new to Underdog. It is very simple. You make at least 2 picks on the higher or the lower for the players. If both the picks hit, you get paid. If you do multiple other picks, then the payout will be higher, but all of the picks have to hit. So make sure you guys do check that out, promo code Notorious, or by clicking on the link in the video description. Now, Rachaad White, without Bucky Irving, has been nothing short of fantastic. If you've played him every single week, you have felt very good about it. Running back 10 last week up against the Niners, running back 7 up against the Seahawks the week prior, 3 total touchdowns and a touchdown or more in each of those games. So while Rachaad White isn't Bucky Irving, and while I do still believe Bucky Irving strongly deserves the role as the running back 1 in this offense when he returns, Rachaad White is one of the better handcuffs in fantasy football. I mean, I think that kind of is just a no-brainer take. Like, I don't think I'm some genius because I thought this, because obviously he was the lead back on the team prior to Mr. Bucky Irving coming there and snatching his job. Now, on paper, this is a rough one, which is why I don't have him ranked in the top 12, the 28th best matchup for running backs. But Rachaad White has played so well so far that while he's not in the top 12, he's just knocking on the door of that, right? If any of these guys, Rachaad White, JCM, Rico Dowdle, Breece Hall, Jaylen Warren, if any of them finished inside the top 12, I'm not going to lie to you and be like, oh yeah, I was so shocked that that happened. Then we got JCM, Ja'Cory Krosky, Merritt, Bill, little Bill Nye, the football guy, going up against the Dallas Cowboys. Now, JCM was a guy that I banged the drum for last week. I was giving him the Suka Lamink special. I was talking about how Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt was going to dominate up against the Chicago Bears, that he was going to put the Chicago Bears defense in the figure four. I mean, this is the sixth best matchup for running backs. How can it fail, right? How? It does, obviously. He fumbles, but he had his most amount of snaps, his most amount of carries, most amount of touches overall. So while he did fumble, while he definitely did disappoint as the running back 38, I do think brighter days are ahead. This week we got an even better matchup here, the fifth best matchup at the running back position. So I feel very good about JCM after one slight misstep. He still appears to be the clear RB1 on this team. Then we got, you might just get hit with the Rico Dowdle going up against the New York Jumbo Jets. Chuba Hubbard practices limited fashion on Thursday. I think if Chuba Hubbard does play, that Rico Dowdle will get more touches than him. Because if he's still practicing in limited fashion, he is not all the way back. I think once Chuba Hubbard is healthy, it's going to be more of a 50-50 split, or even more of a split that leads in the favor of Chuba Hubbard. But with Rico running so well over the last 2 weeks, I think you just keep up the hot streak here and rank him highly. If Chuba practices in full on Friday, then I might have to backtrack this take and bump him down a little bit. But as of right now, I have Rico ranked this highly. I mean, a man rushed for 200 fucking yards against the Dolphins, which is not a shocker, right? If any running back runs for 200 yards against the Dolphins, you shouldn't be like, oh my God, Rico Dowdle's so fucking good, right? You know what I think when I see Rico Dowdle run for 200 yards? How the fuck do the Dolphins allow that to happen? When Quinshon Judkins runs for 7,000 yards on Sunday, you know what you should think? Not holy shit, Quinshon Judkins is the best running back I've ever seen. You should think, how the fuck does Anthony Weaver still have a job? That's what I would think. And then up against the Cowboys, in a revenge game, Rico Dowdle goes bananas again, running back too, right? 183 rushing yards, 56 receiving yards, and a touchdown. I mean, the guy has been nothing short of incredible. And if you think that the New York Jumbo Jets are going to be able to stop the run here, you are misinformed. 16th best matchup for running backs. When a guy is running as well as Rico Dowdle, again, even if Chuba Hubbard does return, I'm just going to stay in the flame here, Fantastic Four style, and keep ranking him this highly. Then we got Breece Hall going up against the Carolina Panthers. Now, Breece Hall definitely did not perform very well up against the Denver Broncos last week with just 6 fantasy points, but you can't really blame him. You could just blame the fact that Justin Fields was playing like an absolute idiot. He was holding on to the ball for way too long. He was taking so many sacks. It was just ridiculously bad play that if they just shifted to Tyrod Taylor, I don't think Tyrod Taylor is like way better than Justin Fields. They probably do end up winning that game. Without Braylon Allen, Breece Hall is clearly in the driver's seat. Isaiah Davis will see some touches, but he's not that big of a threat for Breece Hall. Going up against the Carolina Panthers defense is going to be a slightly below average matchup for running backs, the 21st best matchup. So with Breece Hall outside of last week and week 2 and week 3, so three of 6 games, he's been pretty good. Top 19 running back in all of those, top 12 in 2 of 3 games. In a matchup like this, I think Breece Hall just bounces back. Really just my thought process. I think Breece Hall's really good, and maybe he'll get traded, and that will be a very nice move for him. But as of right now, on the Jets, too many reservations to rank him higher than this, but he belongs in this range. Then we got Jaylen Warren going up against the Cincinnati Bengals tonight in Cincinnati, the best matchup on a weekly basis for a running back. Now, the fact that Kenneth Gainwell did look as good as he did up in week number 4 prior to the bye in Ireland up against the Vikings, it does kind of hurt your confidence level a little bit in Jaylen Warren, but in what should be a very run-heavy game, like, I get he shit the bed last week against the Browns, but the Browns have a very good run defense. Like, that's not really that shocking at all. I think he gets back in the saddle in the best matchup for the running back position, and I think he could find the end zone potentially multiple times tonight on Thursday Night Football. I'm not panicking after a down game in week 6 after he's been a top 20 running back in the first 3 starts of the season. Now we move on into tier number 3. The third tier is going to be the low-end RB2s with J.K. Dobbins, Kamani Vidal, DeAndre Swift, Travis Etienne, and Jordan, the numbers Mason. What do they mean? Now, J.K. Dobbins slipped on a fucking banana peel last week in London up against the Jets. I thought that this was going to be the perfect game for J.K. Dobbins. You beat the shit out of the Jets. You run the ball a ton early. You run the ball a ton late. And J.K. Dobbins ends up cruising to a top 16 finish. He has been a top 16 running back in 4 of 6 games. Just one truly diabolically bad game last week. So just kind of wipe that from your memory. Forget about it. J.K. Dobbins belongs in either the high-end or low-end RB2 range weekly. The Denver Broncos offense is also significantly better than what I think how they performed last week was. Like, I just don't think that that's the Broncos offense we should get used to in the 10th best matchup for running backs on a per-game basis. You just feel good about J.K. Dobbins. He's just a feel-good play, right? If he's your running back too, you just feel like he's nice, reliable for you. Then you move to Kamani Vidal, who, like I said, just got done absolutely face-fucking the Dolphins. Now, I was someone that said that I like Tassan Haskins better than Kamani Vidal. Last week, I had them ranked back-to-back. I had Haskins ranked out of him. That was completely wrong. Kamani Vidal was the guy. And, you know, he just ran a train on the Dolphins. Again, the Dolphins cannot stop the run. Anyone that was remotely shocked by either, you know, if you said before the game, you know, Vidal did bad, Haskins did really good, that wouldn't have surprised me either, because again, whoever got the most touches was going to play very well. The touches and snaps went clearly in the direction of Kamani Vidal, so I'm going to believe he is going to be the lead back again this week. Could I be fooled? Could I be led astray? 100%. But based on what we saw last week, that would be the correct thing to think about, because when they were in the lead, it was him. When they were down towards the end of the game, it was him as well. Running back number 25 in terms of the 25th best matchup up against the Colts. Last week, he was the RB number 9, scored a touchdown, 120 rushing yards. Again, I'm not going to glaze some running back for performing well against the Dolphins because, again, the Dolphins offense is just a fucking gaping goddamn hole. So Kamani Vidal, he should see enough touches to just be reliable. That's really kind of my take with him. Then we got DeAndre Swift, who looked impeccable on Monday Night Football up against the Commanders. I mean, we talk every single week about how DeAndre Swift is kind of just like the least sexy low-end RB2, high-end running back 3, right? Where you just play him because you have to, right? It's not because you want to play DeAndre Swift. It's because he's on your team. He gets you his 10 to 14 points, and you feel fine about it. You want to know why? Because if your RB2 gets you 10 to 14 points, if your other guys perform, you can win, right? DeAndre Swift's not going to be the reason why you lose, and if you're pissed off at DeAndre Swift for scoring you 10 fucking fantasy points, you just thought that he was way better than he actually is. But last week, he was way better than I thought he was. Running back 26 fantasy points up against the Commanders. Back-to-back weeks with a touchdown and 3 total touchdowns in 5 games on the season. I'm giving him more credit, but again, if he's back to this range where he's like the RB 20 to 24, you shouldn't be shocked at all. Then we move to, and in terms of a matchup, actually, I do like to bring up the matchup for every player. This is the 22nd best matchup for running backs so far this season. Then we got Travis Etienne of the Jacksonville Jaguars going up against the Rams in the United Kingdom. Running back 19 last week, running back 30 the week before. Real big downward spiral from the beginning of the season for Etienne. The Jaguars pass attack looks significantly better, so they're kind of peeling back some of the touches for Etienne, but he's still getting 15 plus touches weekly, and he's still clearly the running back 1 ahead of Baishal Tootin, even if his stats are falling. It's not like now they're giving more and more of a rope, more and more of a piece of the pie to Baishal Tootin. That just is not true. So while he's been on a bit of a downward spiral, I would expect him to eventually bounce back. Now, this is a really bad matchup for running backs, the 30th best up against the Rams, so don't expect that big bounce back to come this week, but I think he should still finish inside the top 24. Then we got Jordan, the numbers Mason. What do they mean going up against the Philadelphia Eagles? Obviously, we just saw Cam Scatterboo put him on a t-shirt last week. Cam Scatterboo went bananas up against the Giants. It was awesome. Or up against the Eagles. It was awesome to watch. For the Giants, Jordan Mason has been just all right. I mean, I think he's better than Aaron Jones. I think that he is just more exciting to watch than Aaron Jones. But it's not like Jordan Mason's like a top 12 running back in the NFL, but he performed this season with 1 game inside the top 12 as the RB7 back in week 3. We saw big games out of him on the 49ers, so when the matchup is right, you do feel pretty good about him, and the matchup is right this week with the 8th best matchup for the running back position. The quarterback position still seems up in the air right now as I'm speaking on Thursday. I don't feel significantly stronger about it being Carson Wentz than I do about it being JJ McCarthy. I think we'll have a lot more information on Friday, but regardless of who the quarterback is, I think they're going to try to run the ball because whoever the quarterback ends up being, it's going to be a hobbled version of that QB. Now we move on into tier number 4, which is going to be the high-end RB3s, and this is where you really start to feel a fall off, in my opinion. Like, obviously, the top 12 are the top 12 for a reason. Then the high-end RB2s, you like them better than the low-end RB2s, but once you start to get into this range, it starts to feel like you need a prayer for this guy or one of these guys to truly explode. Chase Brown going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. For Chase Brown, you just hope that Joe Flacco can keep this game close so they're able to run the ball potentially later on in the game, and that Joe Flacco maybe dumps the ball off a little bit more than he did last week. That's really just your hope with Chase Brown. He's in the 17th best matchup for running backs, but again, I don't want to have to play Chase Brown, right? These are kind of break glass in case of emergency type of guys. Chase Brown has been a top 24 running back in back-to-back games, but that's with 12 and 9 fantasy points, so I don't think we deserve to give him a crazy amount of credit for doing that. I like Chase Brown. I think the skill is there, but averaging 2.7 yards per carry this season, 74 attempts for 202 yards is just far from ideal. So unless he really sees a lot of dump-offs tonight, I don't expect him to really be able to break free past being a top 24 guy. Alvin Kamara has kind of just been a very big disappointment ever since the first 2 weeks of the season. He's good enough to be ranked in this range because, again, if you have Kamara, you at least feel safe about getting like 10 plus fantasy points. If he has a good day, he'll get you like 18. He was limited in practice on Thursday with the ankle injury. In terms of a matchup up against the Chicago Bears, this is a upper echelon matchup, the 6th best matchup. So again, the problem is the ceiling just feels very, very, very limited by the fact that they're using Kendre Miller more and by the fact that the offense itself just isn't very good. I think we kind of need a trade of Kamara getting shipped somewhere else for him to be truly, a guy that's super viable. Then we got Zonovan Knight, Bam Knight going up against the Green Bay Packers. Now, last week, I was pretty much on the train that, hey, they named Bam Knight the starter on Sunday. I don't think that matters. I think what a starter means in the NFL is very simple. It means he is going to get the ball first, right? That is what a starter is. He's going to get the ball first, but that doesn't mean he's going to get the most touches. And that's what I said. And early on in the game, it was like, holy shit, Nick, you're a genius. You said Carter was going to be the guy, and Carter was the guy early on in the game. But then Amari DiMarcado ends up getting hurt. I believe that was on a special teams play. And then from there on out, the team started to really rock with Bam Knight as the early down back, and then Michael Carter became kind of Amari DiMarcado. Now, Amari DiMarcado was not seen in practice on Thursday, which is a pretty good indicator that he will be out and thus will be in the exact same situation as last week towards the end of the game when he ended up getting hurt, to where Bam Knight is the RB1 on the team. Now, he got lucky. He found the end zone last week, but if he's the most likely to find the end zone out of the running backs when you compare him to Michael Carter, then I would rather play Zonovan Knight. In terms of a matchup up against the Green Bay Packers, the Packers defense definitely has not looked as good as I thought they would, honestly, especially last week. I was pretty shocked with how the defense performed, but they're the 29th best matchup for running back. So again, you're kind of just praying for a touchdown with him. Then we got David Montgomery, and I would love to rank David Montgomery higher. I would love to, but this to me just doesn't feel like the kind of game where David Montgomery has that huge game. And that's because the last time he exploded was in week number 5 up against the Bengals, a game where they're up big, running the ball late with David Montgomery putting the game on ice. Whereas this feels like more of a tit for tat back and forth game. Now, David Montgomery should be good to get you 10 plus fantasy points. You feel fine if you play him, but I'm not really expecting anything special this week. Kind of like last week, we're up against the Chiefs. He was like the running back number 30. Then we got Kenneth Walker III going up against the Houston Texans. I mean, what is there to say about Kenneth Walker? Sure, he looks good. Sure, he's played well. But the thing is, he's averaging 4.7 yards per carry. But once they get into the red zone, they're going to hand the ball to Zach Charbonnet. So even if Kenneth Walker gets within a fucking millimeter of the end zone, they're going to pull the plug on him like he has a DNR written on him. Do not resuscitate. resuscitate, and then they're going to give the rock to Zach Charbonnet. It's going to be super frustrating, and you're just going to have to deal with it every single week. So don't be shocked if Kenneth Walker absolutely fucks you in the ass in this one. The 24th best matchup for the running back position. Again, none of these guys I really want to have in my lineup. Then we got Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard coming back off the injury. Again, limited with the calf on Thursday. And to me, that means he's going to be a little bit more banged up. They're going to feed the ball more to Rico, but Chuba Hubbard will get his opportunities to potentially have a good game again in a solid matchup. Then we move on into the 5th tier here, which is going to be the low-end running back threes. Again, we are just really starting to feel bad the lower and lower you get down here. Ramondre, Isaiah Pacheco, Tony Pollard, Travion Henderson, and Zach Charbonnet. Ramondre Stevenson is the #1 running back that will just trick you. He tricks people every single week. He won't trick me because I've seen this happen before. I know who Ramondre Stevenson is, right? Last week, a lot of people were like, Nick, why do you not have Ramondre Stevenson as a start? He was the running back 18 against the Buffalo Bills. And I said, this motherfucker fooled you guys in week number 2 after going up against the Dolphins. He scores the 6 most points at the running back position. Then he's the running back 52 and 49 the weeks after. Last week, he's the running back 60 after being the running back 18 the week prior to that. Stop falling for the trap. Obviously, if there was someone that was going to score more points at the running back position on this team, it would be Ramondre Stevenson. So if you have both of them, you're in a desperate situation, go ahead. It's the 3rd best matchup for running backs, but I will not be fooled by Mr. Fumbleitis, Ramondre Stevenson. Then we got Isaiah Pacheco. They're starting to give more and more snaps to Isaiah Pacheco, but until the team truly commits to Isaiah Pacheco as the clear lead back, until they start dumping the ball off to him more, even in a spot up against the Las Vegas Raiders, where I expect them to run the ball a ton late on in the game, how can you possibly trust Pacheco more than this? Then we got Tony Pollard. Tajay Spears seems to be getting more snaps. Tajay Spears seems to be getting more looks. They fired their head coach. The team is a steaming pile of dog shit. I expect the Patriots to elbow drop them in this one, the Mike Vrabel revenge game, so I don't expect Pollard to get a lot of opportunities. Then we got Travion Henderson. There's no Antonio Gibson. They've got to give the ball more to Travion Henderson, right? Wrong. Running back 43 in week 5. Running back 45. I got a Colt 45 and 2 zigzags because, baby, that's all we need last week up against the Saints. It ain't looking good again. Oh, the matchup is so good. You're just getting fooled. Again, then we got Zach Charbonnet. If Zach Charbonnet scores, hallelujah. If Zach Charbonnet doesn't score, enjoy your 5 fucking fantasy points, buddy. Now we move on into tier number 6. Get your kicks en route 66. The tier 6 is going to be the YOLO tier. That's the motto. 9-inch Nicholas Chubb, Woody Marks, Tajay Spears, Kenny Gainwell, the Saxman, Kenny G, Michael Carter, Kareem Hunt, and Kendre Miller. 9-inch Nicholas Chubb swang that thing around up against the Ravens prior to the bye. Found the end zone, running back 23. Shout out to Michael Jordan. Now he's going up against the Seattle Seahawks in a grudge match, even though it's actually not a grudge match. It's the 19th best matchup for the running back position, the 2nd game on Monday Night Football. So can't wait to stay up until 1 a.m. to watch CJ Stroud versus Mono Man Sam. Nick Chubb, we thought he lost his job, then he gets his job back. Who knows? Who knows? You're hoping for a touchdown here. Then we got Woody Marks. If I had both, I'd prefer to play Chubb. Woody Marks goes bananas in week number 4. I mean, it's like, holy shit. Blow your fab wad on Woody Marks. Make it rain like you're at the goddamn strip club. And he's the running back 6. He follows that up with 2 fucking fantasy points up against the Ravens prior to the bye. Maybe coming out the bye, they have better ways to utilize him. But based on how the coaches have been speaking, I don't really know about that. I don't know, Jim. Then we move to Tajay Spears going up against the New England Patriots. Again, he saw more snaps than Pollard last week. He had 5 rushes, 4 receptions, so less touches than Tony Pollard. Really, I have nothing, no positive thoughts about the Titans. Then we got we got Kenneth Gainwell going up against the Bengals. Wet dream matchup, 10 fantasy points last week. Really good matchup against the Bengals, but I still think this is the backfield of Jaylen Warren. Then we move to Michael Carter, who again looked like the guy early on. Then they obviously had to pull him back, so he's going to get a decent amount of dump-offs, but that's about it. And in a yucky game up against the Packers, no bueno. Then we move to Kareem Hunt going up against the Raiders. Again, he still may get the goal line looks, but with his snaps getting peeled back, you're really just praying for a touchdown. Final guy's going to be Kendre Miller. Unless he scores, not going to do much. Again, the Saints offense not going to put him into a lot of great positions. With Taysom Hill now back, he's going to steal some rushing looks too. So again, you just kind of want to be off Kendre Miller. So thank you guys all so much for watching. Let me know down below in the comment section who your starting running backs are this week, because week one, it seems like, oh, everything's all fucking sunshine and rainbows. Everyone's got such good running backs. And then you fast forward to week number 7 and you're starting like Isaiah Pacheco and Tony Pollard and you want to go take a bath with a toaster. So thank you guys all so much for watching. I understand though. I'm not blaming you guys. It's been a crazy season. So thank you guys all so much for watching. If you didn't enjoy, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below. While you're down there, please make sure you leave a like on today's video. So thank you guys so much. Check out one of the videos on your screen if you haven't seen it already. Love you a long time. As always, good boy.